Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I gotta plead ignorance on this thing, because if anyone had said anything to me at all when I first started here, that sort of thing was frowned upon.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up! Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is a Mind Somewhere for May 6, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. Listen, if you want to talk to her, you better link your PSN account. Otherwise, we're just not going to allow it. It's actually Burns, everybody. Stuck in there just for you.
Happy Monday. It is now.
It is a happy Monday now for a lot of people because breaking news, we have a special report, Ashley.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Sony has officially buckled, and they have walked back the requirement that Helldivers 2 should have a PSN account linked to your Steam account in order to play on a non-PlayStation platform.
Yeah, which we laugh about, but this is kind of like a weird story. So I haven't been following it all that closely. Helldivers 2 has been a wildly successful game. I would say it's been the it game for the past several months since it came out. You hear about it all the time.
Ever heard of Helldivers 1? Have you ever heard of it?
Nope.
Which, by the way, caught some shrapnel in the review bombing. Helldivers, the first game, got review bombed as well. It's like, wait, I'm
just standing here, man.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
So Helldivers 2 came out several months ago. It's been very popular. People really enjoy playing it. It's
a
been
cooperative
really positive.
third-person shooter. It draws inspiration from things like Starship Troopers, etc.
Yeah, like sort of futuristic, dystopian, Anyway, the idea is that it released on Steam
February 8th of this year.
Right.
February 8th.
So it's been several
3 months ago.
And just before the weekend hit, Sony, I guess, posted an update. I know, right? To the Steam page saying that PSN linking had been optional at launch due to technical issues, and that quote grace period was going to end. So, which was going to meant that all Steam players were going to have to link a PSN account in order to continue playing the game. Now, a PSN account doesn't cost anything to make, so shouldn't be an issue, right? Wrong. Here's the sticky wicket. Ready?
Sticky wicket. 3 months in. 3 months in.
3 months in. This game has released in a lot of countries, over 100 countries, that do not have PSN. So people in those countries had been able to buy the game, play the game, and we're now going to basically be locked out of the game.
And this is a paid game. This is not a free-to-play game.
Right.
Last time I looked at it, it was about $40.
Yeah. So basically this weekend has been drama central, Bernie.
Might be a little cheaper this week. The retail price might have dropped.
Yeah. The game received was something like 14,000 negative reviews on Steam in a 48-hour window. So the whole game has been really dragged down this weekend by this announcement. And this morning, Sony said, okay, we won't do that.
Yes, we will not require you to link your PSN account in order to play this thing on PC.
And I gotta say, I'm a little bit annoyed that the developers are playing like, oh no. When the studio chief, he came out on Twitter and was like, oh yeah, we knew this was going to be a thing for like 6 months. I guess, we didn't talk about it enough.
Do you have that tweet in front of you? That was shocking to me that he posted that as well.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the exact tweet right here because it was really surprising. So this was the CEO, Johan Pilestedt. He said, I do have a part to play. I'm not blameless in all of this. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew for about 6 months before launch that it would be mandatory for online PlayStation titles.
So they must know there's markets where they wouldn't be able to link their PS account.
Right. So I would be more sympathetic if they had knowing more than 6 months before launch that this was going to be a thing, if they had made the decision about which markets to launch in and which markets they couldn't launch in based on the availability of PSN accounts in those markets. The fact that they would put the game out knowing that this was going to be mandatory and then just throw those users on the hope that Sony might backtrack or something would just work itself out is not cool, in my opinion.
I do think there's a branding issue here. I think it would fly a lot further under the radar if they called it a Sony account and not a PlayStation account, because they're also PC gamers.
Yep.
But I agree with you. If they knew this so far in advance, 6 months in advance, they must have known there were markets where they wouldn't be able to service those users, and they launched the game anyway.
And if they didn't...
And admitted to that publicly on Twitter.
I mean, the game's definitely taken a hit to its goodwill.
Yeah. I mean, we were going to do our first gaming night for our Patreon members in this game, and now I don't think we'll touch it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the shine's definitely a little bit off it for me. It's a game that I've heard a lot about. It's been really popular. Everyone who's playing it seems to really enjoy the gameplay, and the game itself has not changed as a result of this drama. So I'm sure the game is still good. Gamers now have got what they want. Sony is not going to require account linking on Steam.
That's great.
So it is.
That's a big win.
They absolutely affected change. It's going to be a big deal, particularly for the gamers in countries where PSN is not available. So in this case, I would say it's a pro-consumer win.
I like the fact that gamers rose up. There was a very decisive action. They hit it hard and hit it fast, right? And they got the results that they wanted. And I think ultimately that's a good thing.
I would agree with you.
I do think there needs to be a position in in the video game industry for AAA studios when like they're hitting every note, everyone's excited about the game, everything's going right. There needs to be a person who shows up and goes, right, how are we going to fuck this up, right? It's like a consultant that comes in and says, everything's going great. You don't have carte blanche to do whatever you want to do. Because you're in this position, you are way more likely, more so than any other industry, you are more likely now to fuck it up and have a huge fall. The bigger you are, the harder they will go after any decision that you make at that point in time. Any shortfall, any undelivered promise, anything like that. There needs to be somebody who knows that at this point in the video game industry and comes in and goes, I'll have to approve every decision that you guys make from this point on. Because you're going to fuck this up. Almost guaranteed. Almost guaranteed.
Well, speaking of a big fall, Bernie.
Hey, what a segue.
Hey,
so a couple weeks ago, we talked about to have the #1 movie in America, you only had to have $11 million at the box office because Civil War in its second week was #1 with $11 million. And at the time, I was like, that's not great for the U.S. domestic box office. Well, it has continued to fall from there. Even though it's gone up, the expectations and the predictions and the shortfalls thereof have gotten worse because The Fall Guy debuted at under its worst possible estimates. It did $28.5 million at the box office this weekend. The worst possible predictions were $30 million.
Yeah, those were the conservative estimates. It did 28.5, which is a 52% drop from last year. To be fair,
was that Guardians?
Last year was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And those Marvel movies do tend to throw the curve a little bit.
Historically?
Yes.
Historically?
But that's still a pretty major drop. Another issue with The Fall Guy is it needs to make back $200 million to break even.
Wow.
And with an opening of under $30 million, and that's domestic, I think it did better. It did like another $30 million or so internationally. But it's going to have a really hard time getting its budget back, and it's no one can figure out why. It's reviewed well.
It is reviewed really well.
Ryan Gosling has a lot of momentum as an actor.
Emily Blunt
is amazing. Her biceps.
It was on people's radar.
It was on people's radar. So it's like, why?
Yeah.
And there's not really an answer for that, except the same thing as like Argyle. This maybe be a big success on streaming, but people are like, I can wait.
You know what was interesting about it to me, because I was even saying a lot of like retro reboots, I always think they're going to do poorly, and they never do, and this is one that did. But then I noted when we were talking about it, you didn't even know that The Fall Guy was a previous property.
I had no idea.
And I wonder how many people feel that same way. I mean, it was a sitcom on ABC for about 4 or 5 years in the 80s.
Right. It was canceled by the time I was like 4.
Yeah.
So I had no clue.
You know what they need, Ashley, in this modern marketing environment?
What do they need?
They need a diss track with Charlie's Angels or something like that. We would love to talk about the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar beef that's going on.
Would we?
Luckily, Someone on Twitter has said that white people are not allowed to comment on this, and I'm going to take that advice, and I'm going to say, thank you. I don't want to comment on this. I don't know anything about it. I read into it a little bit, and I was just like, none of the information would stick in my head about this. So I hope, have you ever read The Modern Too Long Didn't Read, which is this big block of text, and somebody just posts, I'm not going to read all that, but congratulations, or I'm sorry that happened to you. That's how I feel about this. So we will back off of that. I'm sure people can offer a lot more sophisticated discourse about this than we possibly could.
But let me know the next time Taylor Swift breaks up with someone, because I'll start looking forward to her new album.
Oh, girl, yes.
Which is basically all white girl diss tracks.
We'll put our pinkies out, and we'll have lots of opinions about that. No, but seriously, it's like on a higher level. When do people get bored of like celebrity gossip stuff? At what point do you just get fucking bored of it? You know, it's never any different.
According to your favorite subreddit, FOMOI, never.
Oh my God. There's such an appetite for celebrity gossip that blind items are a thing where they won't even tell you who's involved. They'll just speculate that somebody has a problem with somebody and they were upset with this person on the set. And people will be like, oh my God, who could this possibly? Like,
it's so exciting.
It's like D&D for gossip. You know what I mean? It's like a structured improv game where everyone tries to figure out who could possibly be upset with anybody else.
It's grown up Clue.
It's hard for me to get like excited about multimillionaires grousing at each other online. Give me a fucking break.
Can I give you something to be excited about?
What can I be excited about?
Snakes in pants.
Snakes in pants?
Yes. So it's not big news. It's not, anything that's going to change the world, but it is absolutely hilarious to me.
I think that's blocked in Texas now.
That at the airport in Miami, Florida, the TSA stopped a passenger.
Oh my God.
And did a search and found the passenger had a bag of snakes, not snake eggs, snakes.
Full on snake. How many snakes did they say?
At least 2 snakes. They posted a photo of 2 snakes. They found this bag of snakes in this passenger's trousers.
Were they inbound snakes or outbound snakes?
I'm assuming based on TSA that they were outbound. I don't know where they were going, but they were attempting to flee Miami.
I'm a snake. I'm a slithery little naked snake.
Can you imagine being the guy, like, you walk into those airport screening things. They're the big round things. You put your arms up, the legs out to the sides, and it scans and goes like, there might be some metal in the pocket. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is that?
See like a spinal column.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And you go, sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to step to the side.
So what do you say in that moment when you're busted? Like, because there has to be some attempt to get out of it, right? Do you say like, these aren't my snakes? I forgot I had those snakes.
I had no idea those were there. It's a medical condition.
I can put them in my check bag.
And I want to know how it visualizes too, because as I understand it, those TSA things, right? They show the human outline, and then they'll just be like a box for place of interest. So how does it visualize slithery snakes?
I don't know.
In the trousers.
It must just be like a long spinal column attached to your leg.
Caution, snakes.
It's my emotional support snake. That's what this is. It provides me emotional. So I just bust out my snake whenever there's turbulence, and I feel much better.
Happy ending for the snakes. I guess they got turned over to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, but
So were they inbound snakes or outbound snakes?
They had to have been outbound snakes because the TSA is not searching inbound passengers.
That's true. That's
right.
True.
So it's someone going through security. Where are they going?
Yeah.
Why are they taking the snakes? Were these special snakes?
What else is going on in the world here, Ashley?
Those are the big things for me. I got carried away over the weekend. Can I just say?
Yes.
You've been playing a lot of this game, Planet Crafter, that you were playing. Now I'm playing it. And I got to say, this is a great game.
It is?
It's one of those, it's got the base building, if you like that, and it's got that sort of open-ended gameplay that you sort of decide what you want to do. But the fact that you're terraforming this planet, and the planet changes as you progress, as you add more, oxygen to the atmosphere or whatever, and eventually lakes flood and you have to move your base because you weren't anticipating fucking lakes.
Well, don't spoil the late game.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But
I'm just saying.
That's a helpful tip.
Build high. It's a great game.
It's a fun game. It's a very fun game. Yeah, and it's not one of those crafting games that beats you to death. You can, it's because you're terraforming the planet, stuff you have to manage early in the game, you don't have to manage later in the game because it becomes a more hospitable environment as you're terraforming it by definition.
No, it's a lot of fun. So if you like the sort of like Subnautica type game where you're on your own harvesting resources and doing stuff, great game.
You're sneaking all your video game stuff in. I am
sneaking my video game.
Heavy video game episode. I had some advice for the Helldivers. This is a story I've been wanting to talk about, and we just have never been able to get to it. If Arrowhead or Sony is having trouble from the review bombing they've gotten for Helldivers 2, one thing I would recommend they don't do is introduce an endless shrimp option. Have you heard about what happened?
What?
Red Lobster is now considering bankruptcy because of their endless shrimp deal. And all the people going in and eating shrimp, all you can eat shrimp, is bankrupted Red Lobster. They made a miscalculation of what to price that.
Clearly. Do you know how many shrimp a single person can eat? I don't, but I bet it's a lot.
Listen, if you're doing that in 2024 in America, watch the fuck out.
Unlimited shrimp.
They're hitting that. That's going to be an economic study years from now of like rising cost of very specifically fast food prices. There's all these articles now about, for some reason, fast food is just taking off in how much it costs. And I talked about that when I went back to Houston. And I bought a burrito, and it was $18 for a burrito and a drink.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money for a burrito. It's a good burrito, but it was still, give me a fucking break. $18, you know?
Sure.
And it doesn't seem to be like universal. It's like you can go to pockets in America where a Big Mac and fries and a Coke are like $20 now.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. But, they're going to study this endless shrimp thing. If you're going to put an endless shrimp, eat all you can deal, they're now facing potential bankruptcy.
Don't challenge me.
Who would have thought
Don't
Red Lobster,
challenge me.
one of the pillars of American society, can be affected by all this stuff? All right. I also wanted to talk about, before we go, there is a thing that's coming out today. Red vs. Blue Restoration debuts tonight at midnight, as far as I understand. I guess. I don't know.
Midnight Eastern?
Kind of operating in this weird like twilight period where there's not a lot of information out there. I think I'm the only person promoting this thing. But I hope people who have followed the series for 21 years, I hope you enjoy the swan song of Red vs. Blue, which ends tonight. It should be anywhere that digital products are offered. It'll be coming out from Warner Brothers Digital. Hope you enjoy it and look for it later tonight after midnight Eastern time, from what I understand.
And then you're going to be working on a commentary for Patreon as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I got that idea from the KingCast folks, where they had the Gerald's Gamecast come in and just talk about it. As the writer and someone, this is, without spoiling anything, it was a love note to Red versus Blue fans and the long history of the show. There's a lot of callbacks in Restoration. And so I thought it would be fun to sit down and like watch the movie along with our Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/morningsomewhere. So we'll be doing that probably towards the end of this week. I'll be doing that. And hopefully you have watched the movie before that point in time.
Yeah. So stay tuned to the Patreon. We will post more information about that.
Okay. We're going to do this in real time here, Ash. While we're talking about advertising things, we should also talk about some sponsors for Patreon. I'm going to send you a link while you do that.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank today's sponsors, Stephen Morris and Patty Whack, for sponsoring this. Yeah, that's their username on Patreon.
Patty Whack.
Patty Whack. For sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere. Thank you both. That's true. So what I understand you just sent me, Bernie.
I just sent you a link, an Instagram reel that I was suggested. So this is blind to Ashley. What are you looking at here?
I'm looking at basically a sushi train, but for
sure.
I'm sorry.
She started drooling.
I'm salivating. It's basically a sushi train style restaurant, but for cheese.
A conveyor belt restaurant with cheese samples that go around like a sushi restaurant, one of those conveyor ones, but it's all cheeses in London. So
this looks delicious.
I know. I saw that and immediately thought of you. And we'll close on this. You know what I got trapped into when I got suggested that?
What?
There's a new thing that Instagram, and because I've interacted with it, it's like, this guy likes this. Let's just feed him this thing. Amazon has this campaign that's on Instagram Reels where I'll be going through Reels and Amazon just shows me a thing. and then I have to click on shop now to see what it is. And it's some random device.
So it's just like a product photo.
I'm talking like a nozzle head or something. You know what I was looking at today?
What were you looking at
today? A clamp that goes on the neck of a guitar at the G level. I'm not a musician in any way. I had to click on it to see what this thing is. It's a brilliant campaign. It just shows me pictures of things, and I go like, what is it? And I have to click on it to see what it is.
Do you play a guessing game with yourself? Like, I think that's a blah, 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 blah.
I gave up on that game
I think
because
that's a garlic mincer.
I'm never, ever right, and I lose that game 100% of the time. And also, Sony wanted me to link my account in order to play that game. So
Weird.
so I review bombed everything on Amazon. All right, well, that does it for us today, May 6, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.